Now, before I go deep into fluid mechanics, I'd like to define about the types of fluid flow. What are different types of fluid flow? The first classification is, I can say, streamlined flow, and turbulent flow. Let's see what is streamlined flow and what is turbulent flow. Okay. See, a flow is said to be streamlined. A flow is said to be streamlined if each fluid particle traces a definite curve in space and curve traced by two fluid particles never intersect each other. Never intersect each other. Sorry. Right? And the opposite will be turbulent flow. Each fluid particle is traveling in a definite curve in space, and the curve traced by two fluid particles never intersect each other. Right? And the opposite is going to be turbulent flow. Turbulent flow is where the particles are not traveling in a definite curve, and the curve traced by the two fluid particles may intersect. That's called turbulent flow. In this chapter, we will only confine ourselves to streamlined flow. That's one kind of definition. That's one classification. Then I'll classify it as steady and unsteady flow. A flow is said to be steady if the physical quantities associated with the fluid flow, like pressure, and the very important physical quantity is velocity, density, temperature, etc. are independent of time, do not change with time, are constant with respect to time, or are independent of time. They do not change with time. The velocity at any point is not changing with time. Density is not changing with time. It may change in space. See, if this is a fluid flow, then say at this point we have, say, the velocity may be 2 meters per second. At this point the velocity may be 4 meters per second. This point is 6 meters per second. This is P, Q, R. So velocity of any fluid particle passing through this point P is 2 meters per second. Velocity of any fluid particle passing through this point is going to be 4 meters per second, and velocity of any fluid particle passing through I is 6 meters per second. So these velocities can be different and different point, but they are not different in time domain. If the velocity at point P is 2 meters per second, then at every time velocity of the fluid particle passing through this point P is going to 2 meters per second. Is going to be 2 meters per second, right? At whatever time velocity the fluid passes, whichever fluid passes, your velocity will be 2 meters per second. Velocity here will be 4 meters per second. Velocity will be space varying, but not time varying. Similarly, all these physical quantities, they may be space varying, they may vary from one space point to other space point, but they should not vary in time domain. They should not vary in time domain. Okay. So the third classification is compressible and one more thing, opposite will be unsteady flow. In fact, this is what I discussed. Steady flow is velocities are time varying, it vary with time, then we call it unsteady flow. Now see this case, compressible and incompressible flow. See, a flow is said to be incompressible if density is constant in a space and time both. Density at every point is same and at every time is same. Density is not space and time varying. At every point in the fluid system, your density is same, and at every time density is same. Density should not be time and space varying. At every point in the fluid system, density is same, and at every time also density has to be same. That's compressible and incompressible flow. That's called compressible and incompressible flow. Then we have irrotational and rotational and irrotational flow. What is rotational? What is irrotational flow? See, a flow is said to be irrotational if the fluid particles do not rotate about any axis. And irrotational flow is a flow where the fluid particles are rotating, like whirlpool, like and the opposite rotational flow is opposite to this. In irrotational flow, fluid particles are not rotating about any axis, and in rotational flow, fluid particles will be rotating about certain axis. So for